I demand the center of attention. Please.
Let's go.
I'm famous.
Beautiful, but I don't got time to wait for your ass.
You.
Cocaine is the devil. Drugs wreck families, ruin lives. I get high just about every day.
I think that once she realizes that, that's when the lonely feeling really sets in. That's when self-sabotage occurs. And she drinks and smokes E-pens. And it just looks like, we're heading down the same path of self-sabotage.
Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. Episode 2 of Where is Wendy Williams is focused on recording the obvious decline of Wendy's mental and physical health. The audience and filmmakers become deeply aware something is really wrong with Wendy, while the yes men around her act blind to the obvious mental decline.
This is where I was born here.
Right down the street.
No, over there.
I thought you were down in 1801.
Are you sure?
You know where you were born. I thought you were born in 21 Central.
I don't recall. Are you sure?
Yeah, down that way.
Okay.
The episode opens with a trip to Asbury Park, where Wendy was born and raised, and a local resident has to remind Wendy of which house she used to live in. It's not the fact that Wendy seems confused about the house number that's the most concerning. We all forget things as we get older. But it's really the odd way in which Wendy interacts with everyone around her that seems to point to a serious mental health decline.
Mic sounds nice, check one. My mic sounds nice, check two. Are you ready? Yeah.
After Asbury, we are fully exposed to the depth of Wendy's addiction to alcohol. We see the ways she will forsake everything else in her life, her responsibilities, her family, her friends, just to have access to her addiction.
Can you wake up, please?
I wasn't asleep.
Okay. How's everything?
Great.
Why do you have your money just laid out? There's a whole wad of cash in your jewelry box.
Wendy is highly addicted to alcohol, and she's still having problems with getting access to her money in the bank, Wells Fargo. Her manager, Will, sets up a separate bank account for her, and she will take cash that she has and either leave it around the house or put it into this separate account. But it's here that I want to talk about something that isn't addressed in the documentary. I found clips from long ago when Wendy Williams spoke out specifically about Whitney Houston and her issues with addiction, as well as a very interesting clip where Wendy says goodbye to Whitney after she passes away and compares their lives to one another.
Sometimes she's going to offend people, and sometimes they're going to come back at her. I remember Whitney Houston's a good example. That interview with Whitney Houston, I could listen to it over and over and over every day.
She's running down the hallway in my office. Boss, you ain't gonna believe what I got. I recorded Whitney Houston off the air. We went in the other studio, in a production room, and we listened to the tape.
Whitney.
Wendy.
I don't believe that I've ever met you in my entire career.
Ain't that something you talk about me all the time?
She was being Wendy. She had asked questions that she knew the audience wanted to know. And I'll give you the green light. Go ahead and narrate.
The conversation lasted for 28 minutes and had lots of peaks and valleys. But most of all, what I got from the conversation was a woman still in the grip, in the struggle. Is there drug use going on at this present time?
Who are you talking to?
Whitney, you.
No, you're not talking to me. I'm a mother. Only my mother has privy to that information. Ask me no questions like I'm a child, Wendy.
You smoke weed?
Oh.
Do you regret Diane Sawyer interview?
No, why should I?
Well, it didn't exactly show you in the best light.
You don't think so? Well, you know, Wendy, you don't show yourself in the best light. People still listen to you.
It's like we saw a side of Whitney that Wendy talked about. No one wanted to believe it, but now you're hearing this phone call and you're like, Was she tipping a little bit, or what's going on?
When your husband was incarcerated for those few days, what types of things do you tell Bobby Christina concerning, like, do you say, like, Daddy's away visiting Boston?
I don't really talking to her. She's a sped patient. She's a child who has intelligence. I give her just as much as she can handle for a 9-year-old because I'm her mother, okay?
You are very defensive, Whitney.
I have to be, Wendy. You talk about me every day.
I knew it would go over big because it was the way of hearing Whitney that the audience perhaps may have never heard before with Wendy Williams. She earned respect on that show.
God, Whitney.
What, baby?
You are a real trip.
I've been around the world.
Well, Whitney, I want to thank you for giving me this moment and not hanging up the phone.
No, I wouldn't do that to you, baby.
I love you, Whitney.
I love you too, Wendy.
You take care.
You too, baby.
Bye.
Be blessed.
So many people are hypercritical of Wendy Williams because she spent her career heavily criticizing celebrities and outing their baggage while seemingly having plenty of her own. And in the example of Whitney Houston, it's almost like Wendy didn't fully accept her own addiction issues, but was focused on calling out Whitney's. Here's a clip of Wendy speaking out about Whitney after she passed away.
Whitney's death, everybody's going to be talking about it today, tomorrow, next week, next month. After I say what I say, I'm not talking about it anymore. You'll have to turn on Entertainment Tonight, The View, their hot topics. You know, I'm out. I felt very close to Whitney, even though this is a woman that I've never met. Never met her. Never been in the same room with her except for one time in my life in 1985 when her first album came out, and I was a radio personality at my radio station at college in Boston, Northeastern University. And this new singer with this great voice came to Constitution Hall, and that's the only time in our entire lives that Whitney and I have even ever been in the same room together. Ever. I had a very long radio career, over 20 years. I interviewed Whitney once in 2003, and many of you all recall that interview. Some of the things that Whitney and I have in common that bonded us: the love of our mother and father. Mr. Houston has since passed. Mrs. Houston and, you know, my mother around the same age, Whitney and I, same age, and both plagued with the demon of substance abuse. It's been almost 15 years since I smoked last from a crack pipe. It's been almost 15 years since I waited on Jerome Avenue in the Bronx for my drugs. Thank you. I'm not proud of the girl that I was, but without being that girl, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. So if it makes any sense to you, I have no regrets. There's one thing throughout it all, my connection with Whitney, is that I wished for us both to be really sober and really aware. And I knew I'd meet her one day, but I always pictured that time to be in our late 50s, 60s, with her being the number one spokesperson for Say No. I just, for some reason, thought that that's what she would do. It's what I want to do. I just thought we would meet and we would hug and we'd be sober and older, and my heart goes out to Bobby Chris, her daughter, who's 18. And my heart goes out to her mother, Sissy. My heart goes out to her cousin, Dionne Warwick, and her auntie, Aretha Franklin. And if you ever watched this show in season 1, you'll recall my Whitney fans. It was never because I ever thought that she would come to our show, because it's just not why I was doing it. I was doing it because I was still hearing things regarding Whitney, and in my own kooky, crazy way, this was my way of showing love. And the one time that we did have our encounter, she ended it. I said, "I love you, Whitney." She said, "I love you too, Wendy." She's my Jersey girl. She was a woman like me, who's part of the subculture of our society, the addict.
So, Wendy appears removed, like she puts up this boundary about her own issues with addiction to alcohol, and she wants to focus heavily on other people's addictions and on her statements that she is no longer addicted to things people might consider heavier, like cocaine. But according to Kevin Jr., addiction has been a major issue for Wendy his entire life. And it's here that the documentary lets us know Wendy spent lavishly on Kevin Jr. throughout his childhood, possibly to make up for the fact that she was often gone, or when she was home, she may have been under the influence. But after Kevin took his mom down to Florida, the studio and the bank started questioning how much money Kevin was taking out of her account.
Like around that time, they started accusing like the family of like doing things that weren't true and saying that my mom wasn't fit to make choices on her own.
All right, so here Kevin Jr. lets us know that the court really got it all wrong from his point of view, because he says, look, my mom, Wendy Williams, has never been a cheap person. We live lavishly, and that's just how she wants it to be. I wasn't taking advantage of her, and the money we were spending was on par with what we typically spend when we are together.
I'm luxurious and gorgeous, and I care for my family a lot.
I think the amount of money that they questioned Kevin about for spending was like $100,000.
Right. So, I mean, the family says that a charge of over $100,000 is pretty much like nothing for Kevin and Wendy. That just recently, it was Kevin's birthday earlier in the year, and Wendy paid almost $120,000 for the birthday party. So you do have to, keep things in perspective. Now, we're not aware of how much money Wendy actually had. Maybe the bank was concerned because she was really losing money quickly or didn't have as much money as she told everyone she did. At some point in the documentary, she says that she had billions at Wells Fargo, but many people say there's no possibility that was true.
Your mother's account?
Not without her consent. I never did without her consent. And the people involved with it know how the process was, and I feel like everyone's just trying to protect themselves at this point, but I've never told nothing but the truth when it came to that.
I don't know. My feeling, based upon what I watch in the documentary, and I will look more closely into this, is that Kevin Jr. is a kid who grew up in a very dysfunctional family setting, and he has turned out to be a very responsible and intelligent, caring individual, having come from a situation of being raised by people who were in the throes of addiction. He seems to truly want to help his mother, and it's hard for me to believe that he would have taken advantage of her financially.
One of your specialty items. Did you drink this whole thing today?
Yes. No.
But, okay, let's just have a quick conversation about this.
Okay, so back in New York, laying in bed, Wendy Williams is drinking herself to death, okay? And the people who are documenting this whole entire situation through film are the ones who are saying wow, look at this. She is not acting like herself. half the time she's passed out. What is going on here, Will? And we still have Will, a woman named Sean, who's her publicist, and other people around Wendy Williams acting like, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong, and Wendy just seems like Wendy. This is who Wendy is. We do see Will constantly trying to throw out bottles of alcohol for the camera, like in front of the camera. It's unclear if this is something he really keeps to when no one is there, or if it's something he does when the filmmakers are present.
Don't you feel like maybe this is a bit excessive? I don't know if you need this right now. We have a lot, because we have a lot of business deals going on. I never said you was drunk, but I just don't know if this is a good idea.
It's also just perfectly clear that Will doesn't have the training to be able to deal with this kind of addiction. And Wendy is lacking a support team of individuals who really know what they're doing to help her come out of this space where she's lonely, she's in bed all the time, she's obviously having trouble with mobility, her mental and physical health are declining. Will is just not the person that can handle this on his own. And it's here we meet Wendy Williams' niece, Alex Finney. She's very well spoken, clearly close to her Aunt Wendy, loves her very much. She's actually a reporter, and she credits her Aunt Wendy Williams with giving her a lot of good advice and helping her get where she is today. And she's one of the few people that's really able to stand up to Wendy and to offer some realistic assessment of what's going on throughout the documentary.
Article after article saying she looks unwell or she's not making sense. I mean, you can't ignore that, even as a family member, even when you say, I'm not gonna look this stuff up. I mean,
meanwhile, we've still got Wendy Williams going out on the town, eating, drinking in New York City with Will and other people around her, and really ignoring reality and ignoring her family who are wondering what's going on with her.
Hi. And I can't wait until it's over and see my cats and fall asleep.
Wendy makes it clear she wants and needs attention. She tells us she wanted fame more than she ever wanted money or just to do the work of reporting. Fame was what was important to her. Attention was important to her. And it's really hard now that she doesn't have this show. She actually spends a lot of time talking about how she wants to be back on TV. She wants to be adored, recognized, and have the fame that she had before. This is really a central part of her life.
People come out to support you. You know how many people love you?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Then why don't they come over and we exchange phone numbers? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?
Okay, this is real. This is realistic. This is one of the most realistic clips that we see from Wendy Williams herself during the documentary. She expresses a lot of loneliness speaking to Will in this scene. And we also see Sean. The woman here, Sean, is the publicist I talked about, and we're going to get more into what's going on with her probably in the next episode. Sean is a little bit shady, in my opinion. But she's here at dinner with Wendy doing the filming, and Wendy is expressing, I don't really have any friends. I'm alone, and this is hard. And then she's going to ask for a glass of wine. And we really see this cycle that Wendy is in and the loneliness that's really pushing her further and deeper down into addiction.
So while you look at that, can I ask you a question about liquor? Why do you like liquor? Why do you like to drink?
Because I can.
Wendy is consistently extremely defensive whenever anyone asks her about the obvious. She's not all there and she's still drinking, and they want to know, this is keeping you from your family. You say your whole family doesn't want to be around you because of alcohol, or they want you to be with them. They want you to be around them, but they want you to stop drinking alcohol. You say that Kevin Jr. is the most important person in the world to you, and yet you refuse to give up alcohol. Don't you see that as a problem? And Wendy can't even address it.
I am so bored that I can't wait to get to California. Yeah.
Okay, here's when things start to get a little bit more kooky in this episode. Sean. Sean, once again, is Wendy's new publicist that she may have hired like a year ago, although according to Wendy, she's only known her for a few days. Once again, Wendy's not 100% there. Sean is around throughout the filming, and Wendy is not very nice to her, often calling her fat and yelling at her repeatedly, telling her that she's stupid. But in this scene in particular, the ball starts rolling down a long, very steep hill for Wendy to leave and take a trip to California with Sean that she's not telling anyone about. She's not telling Will, she's not telling her guardian. She's only planning this with Sean, and things are about to get kind of sus.
I wish you would get liposuction.
Okay.
You know, and this is great. And the hair is everything.
Thank you. Okay, so first off, Sean is absolutely gorgeous, and Wendy just does this to everyone. But I feel like we can even see in Sean's face here, like, okay, whatever. I'm here for an ulterior motive. So whatever you say to me, I don't care. I'm not leaving. I'm not deserting you because I'm here for something. And there's something I want to expose about Sean, which we're going to be talking about, I think, in the next episode. Some information about her background and what she may or may not really be up to here.
All of this is mine. What the brand is this?
Ugh.
Ugh?
Yeah. So Wendy is going on to continually abuse Sean as her assistant, but also still use her because she's one of the only people, I guess, that's stuck around and is willing to help Wendy Williams actually get on this trip to California. But for now, Wendy needs Sean's help in doling out like all of her clothing because Wendy Williams has decided to sell off a bunch of stuff so that she can have access to the money that she wants. Sean is helping her, but also getting horrifically yelled at the same time.
Put it in the same position, please. Close it all the way. Dumbass.
Wendy's agitation with everyone is very extreme, and the filmmakers do ask her family members about it, and they say that it's been going on for quite a long time. It seems to potentially be linked to everything she has going on with her physical health, her Graves' disease, her addiction issues, and now that we know, I mean, this comes out later in the documentary, her issues with dementia could be contributing heavily to this. They also asked Sean, like, doesn't it bother you that she speaks to you this way? And Sean is flat out like, I just have really thick skin. I think Sean is willing to do anything she can for a payout. Once again, we'll talk about this in a later episode.
I know that she cares about me. I know that she knows that I'm like a ride or die for her.
Later on, Wendy's family is going to for sure question this statement by Sean because many of them, especially Wendy's niece, seems to see right through Sean's schemes and plans. In the last really important scene of this episode, Wendy Williams is asking her driver and Sean and the camera crew to go with her to go get an e-pen at a certain store. She only wants a certain e-pen from a certain store. Now, her driver is highly aware of this and is ready to take her to the store they always go to. And when they go there, Wendy Williams is like, what are you talking about? This isn't the store we go to. I've never been here before. What is this? Drive forward. What are you doing? You guys are idiots. She completely freaks out and refuses to take the e-pen that Sean buys from the store, only to find out hours later after they've driven around and around that the original store was the correct store. And the e-pens they sell there are the e-pens that Wendy Williams always buys.
What do you like? Champagne?
I love it, yeah.
Okay, let's have champagne along with the blues that I like.
But again, only the film crew seems to really react to how erratic Wendy is being by saying, like, something's wrong. What should we do? Should someone be notified? And everyone else around her is like, yeah, let's get some champagne. Let's find those blue e-pens that you want that were here but not really here. It's just a difficult sight to see. These people continuing to pretend like everything is okay.
So you just went in to talk to Wendy.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
She's knocked out, like fast asleep, mouth open, like REM sleep. He has piles and piles and piles of stuff everywhere and tons of
pet and cat food.
Even when Wendy is supposed to have an appointment, like a meeting with a professional who's supposed to help her sell like all of the stuff she has around the house, she misses the meeting. Like the woman is waiting downstairs in her apartment for her. Will and the management team have to come and figure out what's going on with Wendy. And even then, Will shows up and is basically like, oh, Wendy, you're going to have to sleep this off and get up in a couple hours. We got some stuff to do. We'll just have to reschedule this appointment. Looks like you're not feeling too good today. But like, oh, Wendy, we just got to get you feeling better, girl. So still riding the train of trying to be very careful about what they say and do, not being willing to state the obvious. Now, maybe this is because they're part of Wendy's management team and they don't want to say in front of the cameras, like, clearly Wendy is a drug addict. I'm not sure, but she's not getting the help that she needs. That's something I do know.
What happened with the cats?
Oh, there's throw up everywhere by the door.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it stinks.
Well, episode 2 basically ends with a lot of cat vomit. And in this episode, we've witnessed the clear decline of Wendy Williams. Maybe in the first episode, you were kind of unsure what was going on, what kind of health-related issues she was dealing with, but this episode makes it clear that there's something going on with alcohol, that her family is extremely concerned, and that the management team around her is afraid of Wendy. They're not willing to tell her no. They are not willing to intervene in a way that's healthy for her. All right, in the next episode, episode 3, it's a biggin'. It's a big one, guys, because in this episode, Sean, sus Sean, is going to take Wendy out to California and do some things that just don't add up, don't make sense. We have so much more to talk about. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow as we head down the rabbit hole of episode 3.